off Death and Taxes, but apparently Death and Taxes not over.
Yeah, Michael Bunde and Thomas Voltson combined record with that deck was
14-2.
Yes, and that is pretty impressive for Death and Taxes, as Kurpaska is going to start here with a Flagstones of Trocaire and pass the turn back to Chihoy, and we'll see what Chihoy can do here. Again, he's a very accomplished player. He has an invitational top 8. He has multiple Open Series wins. He's got some Draft Open wins as well. Team Next Level Games player Chihoy Yim going to start off by sacrificing a Verdant Catacombs, see what land he's going to search for, and a deck like this is right in his wheelhouse. Never really seen Chihoy attack very often. He's always casting blue cards, likes a Stoneforge Mystic, likes this style of deck.
Now, Jonathan Kurpaska is not running Flicker Wisp in his version of Death and Taxes. Instead, you see the occasionally seen Sarah Avenger. Now, I haven't seen Sarah Avenger in play in a while, but you know what? Very efficient, 2 mana for a 3/3 flyer. Unfortunately, there are some drawbacks. You can't cast it right away.
Thoughtseize from Yim. We'll take a look at the hand. There's an Umezawa Shite, that's Sarah Avenger, ×2 that you mentioned, a Stoneforge Mystic, a Phyrexian Revoker, and a Wasteland in the hand there for Kurpaska. So we'll see what Chihoy wants to start off with this Thoughtseize, excuse me.
Okay. The 3 cards that could potentially be cast on turn 2, Stoneforge Mystic, Phyrexian Revoker, and Umezawa's Jite.
I think a pretty easy start. I think an easy place to start here is probably Stoneforge. I think it's the best card right now in Kurpaska's hand. Depends on what Chihoy Yim does have in his hand and be able to take care of this, but I think it's a pretty easy and natural place to begin.
And he agrees with you. That card definitely been a powerhouse in Legacy for some time now. Jonathan Kurpaska, Death and Taxes on the left here. If you're just joining us, this is the final round of Swiss in this 528-person Legacy event.
Chihoy gets Wastelanded, so there that goes, but that's Kurpaska's only land that's left in his hand, so maybe he drew another one here. There's a Flooded Strand here for Chihoy Yim. It's always difficult to kind of try to Wasteland these decks, because you do want to like Wasteland lock them and destroy some of their non-basics, but when you're playing into a deck that does have a few more lands, as this version of Esper Deathblade does. Also, they have Brainstorm and Dark Confidant and Deathrite Shaman to actually mitigate Wastelands. And, you know, I never really like Wastelanding this deck unless you can consistently do it and really just tear apart their mana base.
Yeah, there was someone on Twitter, I cannot remember who, that said something I think is very appropriate. They said, how unfair is it to have an Underground Sea into a Deathrite Shaman? There it is. I mean, black and blue with their own Birds of Paradise seems pretty gross.
Yeah, and Deathrite Shaman is really beginning to define this format. There's a Rashad and Port. And of course, Death and Taxes can mess with your mana quite a bit, as here's a Phyrexian Revoker. Of course, I mean, Deathrite Shaman is something very nice to do with that, but Deathrite Shaman can trade in combat with the Revoker, so the Revoker actually isn't going to be able to attack. We'll see what it is going to be naming just to confirm. I'd assume it's going to be Deathrite Shaman, just making it into a boring 1/2.
We see a Force of Will in Chihoy Yim's hand. A couple of land as well.
Also a Swords of Plowshares in there too. So he's got a pretty good hand. You see a Detention Sphere. There's a Jace as well. He might not have any other lands. Yeah, it doesn't look like he does. So he's going to play Force of Will. He's going to remove Jace the Mind Sculptor for that, saying that Phyrexian Revoker, you're a little too much for me. So what it's naming doesn't matter because he wants to keep his Birds of Paradise effect on with Deathrite Shaman.
Deathrite Shaman able to produce an extra mana by getting one of those lands out of there, but no plays for Chihoy just yet.
See, Chihoy drew a Marsh Flash for the turn. He does have Retention Sphere and Swords in his hand. Top deck there for Kurpaska is Aether Vial, and it looks like he's just going to pass the turn back. So Yim is going to remove that Force of Will to Dome Kurpaska for 2 life.
Again, Bird of Paradise never seemed so good. There's a lot of reasons why that Deathrite Shaman has become so ubiquitous. We're going to see the potential here for a turn, well, I shouldn't say turn 3, a 3-land Jace could come out. Deathrite pushing it out. There are other plays in Chihoy Yim's hand, but like we said earlier,
looks like we're going to see probably, you know, he can Detention Sphere that Aether Vial. Maybe he wants to do that this turn. We'll see exactly what he does want to do. Is it worth actually Detention Sphering this Aether Vial? So Kurpaska is going to take his turn. Chiho decides that he's not going to Attention Sphere the Aether Vial. So now here's a Flagstones. Going to remove that one. New legendary rule, a little bit different now than Flagstones were before. Flagstones, they both would die. You'd search out 2 planes, but you can't do that anymore. You actually has to keep 1 Flagstones around, so it's a different interaction with the legendary rule.
If you're just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Cedric Phillips. You can see Sarah Avenger has been added to the table for Jonathan Kurpaska.
So you see a white die there on the vial. Make it easier for you guys to see at home. It is currently sitting on 1. Not a lot of 1s to put through the vial for the Death and Taxes deck. Again, Mother of Runes being the big one. Where Vial wants to be for Death and Taxes is at 2. Stoneforge Mystic, Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, Phyrexian Revoca, Sarah Avenger. Those are the 2-drops that can slide through the vial. There are some 3s as well, and if we do get to that point, we may see Miran, Crusader, or Mangara of Corndor. Sometimes you see Fiend Hunter as well, but none in this list here from Kurpaska.
Chihoy with a Savannah in his deck, the only Savannah. You can see that Swords to Plowshares. Deathrite Shaman nibbling away. Gets rid of that Phyrexian Revoker to gain 2 life at the end of Jonathan Kurpaska's turn.
You normally see Bio in these types of decks as the green source, sometimes Tropical Island as well. Rarely do you see Savannah, but he does have 1 Savannah that's going to be acting as the green source in his version of Deathblade to be able to gain some life. And now here is that 3rd mana source, that 3rd land to be able to cast at Jace the Mind Sculptor. Deathrite Shaman doing what it does, providing mana among other things. It's going to bounce a Sarah Avenger, but that Avenger is going to be able to come back through and actually slide through an Aether Vial moving forward.
This means that Kurpaska would be able to drop that Avenger, add an instant speed at the end, for example, of Chihoy's turn if it gets bounced again.
He's going to hardcast this one. The reason being, of course, is that he does have a 2nd Sarah Avenger in his hand, so he can actually slide through another one. We don't know if he has any other 2-drops. You see an Aether Vial currently in his hand, so does he want to cast that 2nd one, opening himself up to a Detention Sphere that he does not know is in Chihoy's hand? The answer is yes, so we could see a bit of a Detention Sphere blowout here.
Aether Vial on 0 and on 2, and a Sarah Avenger facing a Deathrite Shaman and a Jace on 2 loyalty. You can see the Detention Sphere, a Marsh Flats drawn, and a Swords to Plowshares in Chihoy Yem's hand.
So Chihoy racking his brain. How do I want to start my turn? Does it start with Brainstorming via that Jace? Does it start with Fate Sealing? Put it up to 4 counters. Protect it with a Swords to Plowshares. He's got 4 mana to work with. He's got some options, could unsummon as well, bring his Jace down to 1, and of course if you ever play with Jace the Mind Sculptor or against it, an incredibly complex card to use correctly, but if you're able to, the winds start following you.
One of the things he has as an option is laying the Detention Sphere and targeting Aether Vials to potentially pseudo-choke out Jonathan Kurpaska of the mana that the Aether Vials fakely provide. Right now, he starts off with the 0 ability on Jace the Mind Sculptor, trying to find some more options, more information, before he makes a decision.
The draws there with the Jace are Geist of Saint Traft, a Vendilion Click, and a 2nd Jace the Mind Sculptor. So what to put back is the question here. Resolving a Brainstorm on a Jace, always a difficult thing to do, especially in Legacy, where navigating the turns with Jace are paramount to victory. So is he going to leave another Jace in his hand? He's going to put it back on top. You see Vendilion Click, looks like that's going to stay there for a little while. I think that Marsh Flats is going to stay as well. So it looks like he's going to put back Geist of Saint Traft and Jace the Mind Sculptor in some sort of order here. Detention Sphere, Swords of Plowshares, and Marsh Flats left in the hand. Marsh Flats the land drop for Chihoy, and so there is your Detention Sphere that we thought we might see this coming. Just is he going to target the Vials, or is it going to be Sarah Avenger? Looks like it's going to be Vial.
One of the things that this does is makes it very hard for Jonathan Kurpaska's very tricky deck to do what it might do.
Oh no, so Kurpaska makes a huge error here. So what he ends up doing is he activates Vial in response to the Detention Sphere on the stack instead of it being in play. He activates it, he says, all right, I'm going to put into play a Sarah Avenger. Chihoy goes, okay, does my Detention Sphere resolve? Yes, okay, now I'll eat your Sarah Avengers instead of your Vials. So a huge misstep there for Kurpaska. in his order of operations, as he's now going to untap and take his turn.
Now we have a Jace the Mind Sculptor in play with nothing threatening to hurt it at all. Not the place you want to be when you're playing Legacy. Anytime that Jace the Mind Sculptor isn't afraid and it starts being able to do its work turn after turn, the game gets away from you so quickly.
So now Kurpaska has put himself in a very poor situation. That Jace the Mind Sculptor should probably be off the board from an attack here. Now he just gets to play an equipment in Umezawa Shite with nothing to suit up at this juncture. Not sure if he's drawn a creature of relevance quite yet. He's tapping a mana. Does he have another Aether Vial to play? No reason to play a 1-drop, of course. That's what the Aether Vial's for.
Puts his 2 cards down, thinks a little bit here.
Probably
Looks
frustrated
like
with
a pass.
Looks like he's frustrated with the mistake that he made on the previous turn.
Yeah, definitely. And we see the Brainstorm effect from Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Yeah, it's time to go a little bit deeper into the deck now, and this is where Jay starts to take over. We see one more Brainstorm here for Chihoi. It's probably over. I don't like to pronounce a game over before it is, but a deck like Death and Taxes, its job is to prevent Jace from actually getting into play, and if it does get into play, you get 1 activation off it, 2 at the most. Sarah Avenger would have been able to stop Jace from getting this 3rd activation here. It unsummoned once, now it's Brainstorm twice, that'll make 3 activations, and now we're going to see a Thoughtseize here from Chihoi. So things can spiral out of control as here's another Sarah Avenger.
Now that Thoughtseize, just making sure for Jonathan Kurpaska that, pardon me, for Chihoi Yim, that there's nothing that's going to surprise his Sarah Avenger.
Here's a Swords to Plowshare. It's going to target the Deathrite Shaman. Sarah Avenger slides through the Vial, so that means that Kurpaska is going to be cardless. So Thoughtseize's not going to find anything. Chihoi is going to end up taking 2 from that no matter what, because it doesn't mean you have to take a card. You just take 2 life away from yourself when it does resolve. He's got Swords of his own, though. Get that Sarah Avenger out of here, and now Kurpaska's going to have to play off the top of his deck in this situation.
Okay, and we're just going to need to make sure that they get that Deathrite Shaman removed from game. They'll take care of that shortly, I'm sure, but the Deathrite Shaman should be with that Force of Will and that Jace, and we'll make sure to let the judges know over there to get that done.
So a Wasteland going to take care of the Rashad import here, and so now you've got Kurpaska with 2 Vials, 1 sitting on 1, 1 sitting on 2, and Umezawa Shite of Flagstones and just the Plains, as Chihoi might play another spell, might play a land and just pass the turn back.
This is one of those situations where the game, as Cedric said, you don't want to say that it's definitely over. Things can go very, very awry, potentially, but facing down a Jace with an empty hand, no creatures on the board, that is the kind of nightmare that sometimes, I think about when I'm playing Legacy.
You see Kurpaska draws a Wasteland and is going to pass the turn back. Not a good time to Wasteland right now, as now Jace is going towards Kurpaska's library. Now Chihoi is able to actually control the draw. There's a Geist of St. Trath, and now this is basically a combo here. Jace controlling the draw step, Fate Sealing every turn, Geist providing a 6-point clock. This game is going to be over in about 2 or 3 turns here, Adrian.
Yeah, there's very, very little looking at Jonathan Kurpaska's deck that could change what appears to be his very, very bad fate this first game.
Karakas the draw for the turn, but Karakas, oddly enough, can't do anything about Geist of St. Trath or its Angel Friend. So in a lot of cases, that would be a good draw. You see both players do have a Karakas on their side. New Legendary rule means that that's not going to kill either one of those. But Karakas, not a good draw. That's why Chihoi Yim left it on top of the deck. Feel free to have that land. That's not going to Legend Rule mine, nor is it going to bounce my Geist of St. Trath.
We see yet another Fate Seal with the Jace. Puts it back. Bad news for Jonathan Kurpaska. In for 6. The Geist and an Angel. Jonathan drops down. A 3-turn clock awaits him.
The thing that's difficult for the Death and Taxes deck is, it's this deck that does a really, really nice job of stopping the opponent from doing things. But if the opponent's actually able to do stuff, if he can get a Jace the Mind Sculptor in play, if they can get a Geist of St. Trath in play, they don't really do a nice job of stopping these things. So once they get behind, they're not very good at catching up.
Yeah, I mean, if you lay the cards down side by side and just say, who's better, Jace the Mind Sculptor or Sarah Avenger? Usually all the way down the line, the Death and Taxes deck loses on the who's better race. The way it works, though, is it tries to make your cards not useful. Like you said, though, it's one of those things where, in this kind of situation, you're going to be pulling out your little knife while people are shooting at you with a gun.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, a lot of decks are going to have a hard time getting out of this situation. So to say that Death and Taxes can't get out of it. And not trying to insult a deck like Death and Taxes, a lot of decks are going to have trouble getting out of this situation, but Death and Taxes is certainly one of them that has almost no hope of coming back from this. Vial is an incredibly powerful card. Umezawa Shite, an incredibly powerful card. You can't argue those things. But Jace the Mind Sculptor and Geist of Saint Wrath, those are better.
This is one of those situations where the cards that Jonathan is using are what Patrick Chapin calls fair cards in his new book, The Next Level Deck Building.
Here's a Phyrexian Revoker here from Kurpaska. He's going to file that in. He's going to equip it with an Umezawa Shite. We'll figure out what Revoker is naming, but I can't imagine it's going to be staying around very long. Here's a Snapcaster Mage from Swords of Plowshare is going to take care of it, and that's the reason that you saw Chihoi actually leave that on top of his deck. He could have put that on the bottom, but he knew he had an answer to it, so why move it to the bottom?
Chihoi draws again. This time we're doing 8 damage.
There goes your Angel. That'll get exiled for now. Kurpaska at a convenient 8 life. Jace gonna move up. Let me Fate Seal you one more time. Do I care about this card?
Oh boy, on top, that is the worst right there.
You can see Chihoi Yim's hand right now as well. He's got a Vendilion Click and he has a Swords of Plowshare, so he knows that he's got this game basically wrapped up. Vial and a Revoker, shrugs his shoulders, says, yeah, feel free. I don't care about it. I didn't care about it last turn. I don't care about it this turn.
Yep. We're just gonna see a Vendilion Click, and that is enough.
One quick untap, one draw step. Swords of Plowshare is probably to clear it out of the way. He's got Revoker naming Jace right now. Sword says, all right, fine. You want to stop me from using my Jace? Take that, Revoker. Get out of the way. Gain a couple of life.
And
get in here for a bunch of damage. He's gonna Caracas back that Vendilion Click. So it's gonna take one more turn because the sword's gaining a little bit of life here.
Yep.
And we're gonna Fate Seal again. Up to 10.
Chihoi checks. You can keep that one too. Oh boy.
There goes the Angel token. So Chihoi thought he may have had it wrapped up that game, just like you and I did.
Caracas.
But now it's going to be over.
Yeah.
So Chihoi Yim is going to win game number 1 here with Esper Deathblade, defeating Jonathan Kurpaska, playing Death and Taxes. Jonathan going to need some help moving forward. Also needs to make sure he doesn't make that misstep with Attention Sphere again, because I think we're looking at a wildly different game if the Attention Sphere doesn't take down 2 copies of Sarah Avenger.
One of the things going to the sideboard that I think Jonathan is going to try to do, we saw it happen earlier in the main event in the Swiss of the Invitational. Cataclysm, one of those cards that ignores some of the cards that have come out since called Planeswalkers, but with Cataclysm, white 2 sorcery, choose an enchantment, choose a artifact, choose a creature, choose a land, sacrifice the rest. Unlike a card like Pernicious Deed, when it ignores a Planeswalker, it leaves it in play. Cataclysm ignoring, that means it's going to say, hey Jace, go bye-bye. I think that that's a card we might see trying to choke off a deck like Chihoi's from the ability to have a Planeswalker, cutting them off from mana, something that they really, really love, and hopefully having the advantage on Aether Vial as a mana source or some good equipment and some creatures to join it.
Yeah, I think Cataclysm is a fantastic card in this matchup. We saw Thomason of Voltson against Dave Shields in round 8 of the Invitational, the last round on day 1, resolved Cataclysm against Shields, ends up winning him the game. Shields did concede the match, as if there would have been enough time, Shields felt that Voltson would win, so good guy Dave Shields does concede there off of the back of a back-breaking Cataclysm. I think Cataclysm is going to come in here. The only thing that makes me wary of Cataclysm, as its effect is undeniably powerful, is that there are only 22 lands in the Death and Taxes deck, and Voltson and Bunday only had 22 lands. Same thing can be said for Kurpaska. So, a 4-mana spell in a 22-land deck, that's a little bit ambitious, but it's not impossible. And if it does resolve, it will be game-winning. If you take a look at Chihoi Yim's sideboard here, what can he have to fix his matchup? He is already up a game, of course. He's got 1 Sword of Feast and Famine, a Vendilion Click, a Surgical Extraction, 2 copies of Notion Thief, a Batter Skull, a Force of Will, 2 Supreme Verdicts, an Aethersworn Canonist, 3 Flusterstorm, and 2 Nile Spellbombs. I love the Supreme Verdicts in this matchup, even though they will be a little bit difficult to cast when you're fighting through Wasteland, Rishadan Port, and Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. I also like an additional Batter Skull because that card can win the game by itself. The rest of the options I don't particularly love. I know Chihoi really does enjoy Vendilion Click. He's got 1 in his main and 1 in his sideboard, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him sideboard that in as well. A way to get to the skies, use his own Caracas. He is playing against a deck that does have 4 copies of Caracas in it, But again, Vendilion Clique provides such a unique effect, being able to control the draw step. I'd be surprised if he didn't board the other one in.
There's a question on Twitter that was sent to @SCG Live. Why is Jonathan Kurpaska, why is he playing these silly Flagstones of Trocaire instead of more planes? Well, you must remember that with a card like Cataclysm, if you sacrifice your Flagstones, you come out a little bit ahead because that Flagstones will find a planes. You can actually have 2 lands after a Cataclysm.
Yeah, I actually kind of like that card in the deck. Again, it also makes it so that if if your opponent is trying to wasteland you, well, that's not going to work very well. Wastelanding on Flagstones doesn't really do anything, so it makes you slightly wasteland-proof. It's not going to, of course, make you fully wasteland-proof with how many non-basics he has, but it does allow you to actually be a little bit better against wasteland, which in Legacy is certainly important.
Now, Thomas Enevoldsen and the other players from the overseas, they did not run the Flagstones, even though they did have the Cataclysm.
Yeah, they were playing 9 planes in their list instead of cutting 4 planes for 4 Flagstones of Trocaire. So we see Kurpaska taking a look at his hand. Looks like Chihoy is pretty happy and good to go here. Again, Kurpaska is sitting at 22 points. He's X1-1 right now. So if he wins and breakers go his way, he might be able to make the top 8 of this tournament. If you're Josh Rabbits, Justin Uppel, those respective players sitting in 7th and 8th place, you're looking for Kurpaska to lose so you could potentially draw into the top 8, or if they already have drawn, if the draw does work out. So they're rooting for Chihoy Yim right now, playing Esper Deathblade, hoping that Kurpaska is defeated so that those players can draw in, because it's very close to a clean cut. It's just not quite there.
And we see Jonathan hoping to have a better hand after that mulligan.
He's happy with his 6. He's going to lead off here with a planes into Mother of Runes.
Mother of Runes, one of the cards we saw made great use of in this matchup earlier this weekend. That first Mother is a card that you really want to get off the table immediately before it starts sitting there with its arms crossed telling you, no, your removal will not work.
Verdant Catacombs going to be the first play here for Yim. Going to go down to 19. Gets an Underground Sea, and we're probably going to see the old Deathrite Shaman.
Oh,
yeah.
So gross. Best Bird of Paradise ever, off of an Underground Sea. Deathrite Shaman, an amazing mana producer, so good. Mother of Runes, though, manages to survive to be able to make use of its ability. That can tap to make any creature protection from a color of your choice.
Yeah, we saw this when Monday was playing against Dave Shields on the last round of the Swiss in day 2 of the Invitational, where Mother of Runes took over the game all by itself. Swords of Plowshare is going to take care of that Deathrite Shaman, but Mother of Runes able to take care of all of the Deathblade's removal, also be able to force its creatures through once they get some equipment on them, namely being Umezawa's Chite. But now Mother of Runes is never going to leave the table, or it's going to take a whole lot of work to make it leave the table, and that means that Kurpaska's threats are always going to be safe, which is incredibly important for him.
This is one of the reasons why the Supreme Verdicts can be so huge for Chihoy Yim. Having the ability to get rid of that Mother of Runes in a non-targeted way, very important. Thalia, that is going to make it cost an extra mana, so 5 mana for a card like Supreme Verdict, not to mention the effect on cards like Brainstorm.
And this is exactly what Kurpaska wants to accomplish. He wants to start making things difficult on Yim. He's made removal borderline useless at this point. Now he's making Yim's spells cost more. Yim's deck is great because his spells cost 1 mana, like a Brainstorm, or Jade's costing 4 mana, things of that nature. But now his spells are going to cost more mana, and if Thoughtseize was a 2 mana card, I don't think it'd see much play. If Brainstorm costs 2 mana, it would probably see a healthy amount of play because it's Brainstorm, but it's certainly not as efficient at 2 mana as opposed to 1. So Thalia is going to make things more difficult for Yim moving forward, and it's going to be hard for him to kill it, of course, because of Mother of Runes.
If we remember that first game, the amount of Phyrexian Revokers that Chihoy killed and the effect they would have had on the game,
yeah.
Mother in that game would have been a huge shift in how that played out.
So Kurpaska's going to draw his card. He's got Mother of Runes at the ready. Thalia is able to come into the red zone. It being a first striker is certainly important, but Thalia is good against this deck for attacking and blocking for the same reason that Grim Lavamancer is. 2 damage, its threats for Esper Deathblade, we're looking at Deathrite Shaman a 1/2, we're looking at Geist of St. Traft a 2/2, Dark Confidant a 2/1. Those guys don't win in a fight against Thalia, so Thalia's great in the red zone here too.
Chihoy Yim, completely untapped at the end of Kurpaska's turn and no play at the end of the turn, now goes into his 4th mana on the board, casts a Brainstorm main phase.
So a 2 mana Brainstorm after playing a Flooded Strand. So he's got the sack land to be able to make this a great Brainstorm. You see Jace the Mind Sculptor ×2 and a Vindicate, not a Vendilion Clique, the draw there. That's going to be an expensive Vindicate. And it's not going to be a very good one. It might be able to blow up a land.
Yeah, I also saw a Batter Skull ×2 as well, so there's a bunch of doubles there.
Goodness. That's a lot of expensive cards. Maybe he's in search of a Stoneforge Mystic at this point. I've seen Abrupt Decay as well, but Abrupt Decay not very good in this situation at all either. That's a 3-mana Abrupt Decay, mind you.
Flooded Strand in hand, Flooded Strand in play.
Believe he already played a
I believe
land
he already
for the
played a
turn.
land as
So
well.
we're going to have to stop this game immediately because he played a Flooded Strand to start the turn. They will pick up that Tundra because he played a Flooded Strand, then he brainstormed. That's oftentimes does happen.
It's been a
mistake there.
It's been a long day.
Yeah. Glad we were able to catch that. Don't think it was malicious, but we are able to catch it, back up the game, and now move forward with Thalia getting back into the red zone.
2 mana now, tapped for Jonathan. Are we going to see a Sarah? Sarah Avenger to the party.
So the 3/3 flyer with Vigilance has shown up. Chihoi have any answer to that one?
Okay, Chihoi thinking here at the end of the turn. Chihoi now wondering if it's there've been enough turns for that Sarah to play. And remember, Jonathan reminding him how much damage he's taken from the Thalia thus far, confirming it is indeed enough time for the Sarah to be cast.
Easy to track the game. Turn one Mother of Runes. Turn 2 Swords of Plowshares and Deathrite Shaman. Turn 3 Thalia. Turn 4 Sarah Avenger. Very easy to retrace the footsteps here.
End of the turn here. Chihoi contemplating a fetch. He does it. If he has a Swords to Plowshares for 2 mana, he can throw it at Mother. Mother can protect herself, and then he could untap and actually kill something.
Yeah, he could Abrupt Decay or Vindicate something. So the Swords of Plowshares would just be lit on fire, serving a better purpose, or, you know, taking one for the team, as it were.
Now, of course, between those acts of if he does have the swords and follows up with a removal spell, that's going to take up the better part of half of one turn and the full part of another turn. And all that just to get rid of one creature. But he does not even have that Swords to Plowshares. It was just a shuffle.
Thought sees the draw here for Chihoi Yim. Going to be a 2-mana look at Kurpaska's hand if that's what he wants to do. You see how much trouble he's having right now just because of Thalia and Mother of Runes and now Sarah Avenger providing the clock. This is exactly what Death and Taxes wants to do. It makes things very difficult in a very obscure way for Chihoi. His spells are going to cost more, Mother of Runes makes it so the removal is off, and he's not going to be able to cast 2 spells in one turn to be able to get rid of Mother of Runes because Thalia is making the spells cost more. Additionally, Sarah Avenger and Thalia are going to get the damage in. We're looking right now, Adrian, at a 3-turn clock. 14-9, 9-4, 4-0 will get the job done if things stay as they are.
And we see the 5th land put into play by Chihoi Yim. Vindicate for 4 mana.
What's he going after? I think he's got to be going after a land, right?
It looks like it.
Can't go after any of the creatures. Thanks a lot, Mother of Runes. Take care of a plains, does Chihoi.
Now that leaves just a Karakas for Jonathan Kurpaska.
So what is that? Was that a lay waste? Demolish? What other bad 4-mana land destruction spells aren't there? Tweet them. Tweet at SCGNJ. Tell me some bad 4-mana land destruction spells, because that's what that Vindicate just was.
Absolutely. Now remember the hashtag SCGNJ. Plenty of people talking about this event. You should go there and talk about it with them.
Here's a Flooded Strand. Immediately sacrificed here for Yim. He's going to search out a tropical island.
Another of the one-of dual lands, just enough to be able to have the ability to do all 4 of the colors the deck provides. Batter Skull in play, a Black Germ. Remember, this 4/4, the life gain is huge. If Jonathan Kurpaska tries to aggressively get through with his Thalia, or to protect the Thalia from a damage in combat in any way, he opens himself up to losing his Mother of Runes.
Planes off the top of the deck. So now Kurpaska does have a 2nd mana Sword Shed again. Does he have Swords of Plowshares to get this out of the way? Would certainly be nice if he did. It's going to be a Stoneforge Mystic. So Avenger can get in the air still, Adrian, put Chihoi down to 5, and if Batterskull does come in, we could see a block and then protection from black so that there is no lifelink, but then that turns the Mother off, and that gives Yim free reign to actually be able to fire off a removal spell.
We see that Jite. If you're just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Cedric Phillips. This is the final round of Swiss here in this Legacy event. Right now, Mother of Runes in the awkward position of having to decide, do I prevent your life gain and open myself up to removal? Or do I sit back and just let you gain life?
Turning him sideways. All right, here comes Sarah Avenger. Not even turning sideways, staying face forward. Gonna knock him down to 5. The thing that's difficult for Kurpaska's deck, one of the things I actually don't like about Death and Taxes is its mana base. I do agree that Caracas is a good card, but I think Caracas has gotten a little bit worse now because of the move to Geist of St. Traft. And I think he has another copy of that in his hand right now. So those get clogged up there. I think Caracas might, it's a huge gamble to play 4 of that card, obviously. It's a legendary land. Even with the new legendary rule, it's still a gamble to play 4 of that. And this is something that can happen. You can draw multiples of those and not be able to operate the way that you're actually supposed to. Like, how's he going to get to Cataclysm, a card that we talked about on the sideboard? You have 4 Caracas in your deck as well. Pretty ambitious.
The other thing with that Caracas, you mentioned how Geist of St. Traft is a card that we're seeing more of. We're also seeing more Omnitel as opposed to Sneak and Show. So the Caracas is just a little less useful.
Not going to be bouncing as many Gristlebrands or Emerald Cruels nowadays. Can't bounce Omniscience or Dream Halls, that's for sure. So now we're going to see Jace the Mind Sculptor come to the party. It's going to go up to 5. Going to feat seal himself is Yim. Is he happy with what he sees?
Thinking pretty hard about it. He's got a Marsh Flats amongst other cards there. He says, no, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. Let's get something else going.
He's going to play his land for the turn. Up to 7 mana is Yim. Wondering how many cards Kurpaska does have in his hand. But now you see, Adrian, because he does play Jason the Mind Sculptor, Mother of Runes is still perfectly safe. There's nothing that he can do to kill one of the creatures, which is good for him. Now, Batterskull already came in and already dealt its damage, so Kurpaska's decided that, I'm not going to try to protect my guy. Just going to sacrifice the flats here. Ishiam going to go down to 8. Maybe we'll see that Thoughtseize here from him this turn.
We know there's a Thoughtseize. What else does he have in his hand that he could put into play right now? Obviously, doing this during the main phase, he's going to do something right away. 1-2. Thoughtseize it is.
He wants to get a look, and he's going to go down. He's going to go down to 6 to do it. And I'm curious to see what Kurpaska has in his hand as well, because he's hit it from us pretty well. And now here we see an Umezawa's Jite, a Batterskull, a Thalia, another Caracas, and a mystery card in the middle. That's actually, I think it's a Mirren Crusader. Oh, it's a Revoker.
Phyrexian Revoker. Legend rule might have been changed, but that doesn't change the fact that it's not good for Jonathan. The 2 legends in his hand that mimic the legends in play, a little bit of a problem for him here. One of the things he could do is use the Lotus, no, that wouldn't even be a very effective play to get a 3rd mana by dropping a Caracas after tapping the old Caracas.
Yeah, it doesn't even accomplish anything right now. I mean, I agree with you that it could accomplish something in some situations. This just doesn't happen to be one of them. You see Chihoi going to take a look at the hand here. He's going to separate some cards. Looks like he's going to take the Batterskull. That's going to go to the graveyard. The Revoker could actually be pretty good right now in this game, though, because shutting off Jace the Mind Sculptor seems pretty important.
Back to Jonathan. Two mana. Yep. Revoker. Jace.
Good choice. Now Kurpaska, he can get it for 3 in the air. If he turns Thalia and Stoneforge Mystic sideways, does that accomplish anything? Doesn't look like it. He would block. The Germ Token would block the Thalia, give protection from black, so he could force through a point of damage, but then the shield is down on the Mother of Runes, but it looks like he's going to be getting aggressive with Mother of Runes, maybe? And I think he's decided against it. So, just in with Sarah Avenger.
In for 3. I do wonder if this is going to be the turn where Jonathan Kurpaska decides it's time to pull the trigger and use the Mother of Runes as a protect a creature from black after a block is declared, and then go for the kill the next turn.
I feel like this is as good a turn as any, as Chihui's going to draw his card for the turn. He's looking for Supreme Verdict in a big way right now. Again, 2 of those in his sideboard. Supreme Verdict destroys Kurpaska this game if Chihoy can find it. And he's got plenty of lands to cast it, but I don't think he's there quite yet.
Only 15 minutes and change remain.
Deliberate pace for both of these players.
Chihoy comes in with the germ. It looks like he's gonna try to get. Oh, thinking about it. Yeah,
it's basically a free attack. I mean,
Here
it has vigilance. It puts Kurpaska to the test. He's going to give one of his creatures protection from black before blocking.
Before blocking. That would be very, very bad. On the Mystic. Wait a second.
Yeah.
Wait. I might do something now.
I would make him wait a second, too. He says, hold on a minute. That doesn't resolve just yet.
That was a pretty big gaffe from Jonathan Kurpaska. What he wanted to do, I believe, is to put that Mystic in front of the germ and then give it pro-black. Now we're going to see a Abrupt Decay in response to kill it, and then there will be nothing with protection from black to stop the germ from eating away the life and gaining Chihoy 4.
So we saw the misstep in game 1 for Kurpaska with the Detention Sphere. Looks like we might have seen another slight hiccup here for him. Activating Mother of Runes before blocking. Now Yim figuring out what to Abrupt Decay, if anything, because he probably wants to Abrupt Decay that Sarah Avenger. That's what I think he's kind of racking his brain about, or heck, even that Mother of Runes, because that's the thing that's causing so much trouble.
I think he might actually go Thalia, Snapcaster, Abrupt Decay again.
Oh, geez, that's an insane turn.
Oh, just keeping it simple, going after just the single target.
So he's going to take care of the Stoneforge Mystic, which would have gotten protection from black, from the Mother of Runes. That's not going to happen now. So now, Kurpaska, do you want to throw something underneath the bus? I don't think any of these things are actually worth getting in the way of. He can just take 4, let Chihoy Yim gain 4, and then just move on like nothing happened. It's kind of annoying that Yim will gain 4 life and go up to 7, and Kurpaska will go down to 12, but none of these creatures are bad enough to throw underneath the bus. The worst one to throw underneath the bus was Stoneforge Mystic.
He does do exactly that. Takes that 4, nothing thrown under the bus. Chihoy back up to 7. And Kurpaska draws a little bit of a nudge of the deck, put the card back on top. No harm, no foul. Jonathan Kurpaska. That window that he opened for himself a few moments ago, he needs to do a little bit more before he can make that same attempt.
Yeah, Kurpaska needs to step carefully moving forward. Yim is in a very bad situation. His Jason Mind Sculptor off, Mother of Runes still active, spells costing more because of Thalia, and Sarah Avenger in the air. Kurpaska, you have the lead. You're doing pretty well. You need to close the game out before Yim is able to find a Brainstorm to get deeper into his deck, or before he's able to find a Supreme Verdict, which, Adrian, I think you would agree, wins the game on the spot.
Yeah, once that happens, Jace comes back online. Sure, Chihoy Yim loses a germ, but you know what? That's a Batterskull. He can bring it right on back. We see the 2 mana. In comes the new Karakas from Jonathan. The old Karakas is gone. The 3rd card, there we go. Mirran Crusader, pro-black, all by itself. No need for help from Mom to stop a germ.
That's a huge draw for multiple reasons. 1, stops the germ token on defense. 2, can't be Abrupt Decayed from Yim. 3, it looks like he's going to play Snapcaster Mage and cast a Brainstorm. But 3, it actually gets through Batterskull if he wants to start attacking. Mother can also give it protection from blue. Already has protection from black and can get in for a whole lot of damage. So we see a Brainstorm here from Yim.
I saw a Geist of St. Traft amongst those cards. That's not very exciting for what he needs to do here. I think I also saw a Deathrite Shaman, but I don't believe there's a Supreme Verdict in those cards, and 2 of them are going back.
I think there's a Supreme Verdict among those cards. He would resolve that Brainstorm pretty quickly. So he is going to untap, is Yim. He's going to draw a card. He draws that Geist of St. Traft for the turn. How does he want to navigate?
We see a Snapcaster amongst the defenders for Chihoy Yim. Remember, no shuffling there. 2 cards put back. This is what we call Brainstorm locked.
Yeah, I mean, he just has to draw the same cards again that he did put back. It's not an unfair brainstorm. It's just a very normal, healthy one. He realizes he can't win the game, and he's going to scoop up his permanents. So Jonathan Kurpaska is going to win game number 2 here. Death and Taxes able to even it up against Chiho Yim, playing Deathblade. We'll go to a third and final one. You see the clock in the middle. We're around that 10-minute mark. Those players may have a slight extension because they are moved to the feature match area, but I can't imagine they have more than 15 minutes. And with the pace of play that both of these players are employing, we could get into draw territory yet again.
Absolutely, and we did actually see this matchup have a draw on day 1. It would have been a draw anyway, but good guy Dave Shields said, you know what, turn 5, I didn't kill you. I think you would have killed me if we kept going, so he conceded. Here in this match, though, as you're saying, this pace of play, Death and Taxes is going to be on the draw, winning game 2. Chi Hui Yim maybe needs to pick up the pace a little bit if he's going to win with his slightly slower deck here. One of the things that I think has been really evident, Mirren Crusader is a very valuable weapon in a world of Stoneforge Mystic. Why? The germs. There are germs everywhere in Legacy, and Mirren Crusader is immune to them.
As these players do shuffle up for game number 2, Adrian, I asked for some bad 4-mana land destruction spells because that's where that Vindicate was. Oh, we got some tweets in here. I've got Poison the Well. I'm looking at Craterize. And of course, technically, forecasting cost, the worst land destruction spell you could play in Legacy. Some say Avalanche Riders. I don't know about that one.
You know, Darwin Castle, the Avalanche Rider, he's not so terrible.
I don't know about that one.
If you're just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Cedric Phillips. This is the StarCityGames.com Open Series featuring the Invitational. This is the final game of this match in the 10th round of this Legacy event.
Looks like both players have kept their 7. Aether Vial on turn 1 for Kurpaska. Stoneforge Mystic here for Yim on turn 2, so he's looking to close this one out very early. Playing very, very quickly. Both players understand how much time is left in the round. Give me a Batter Skull, says Yim. Does he have a Swords of Plowshares here for Kurpaska? He's just got another Aether Vial. Does he have a second land? He does not. So if you're Chi Hui Yim, you're feeling pretty good.
Oh my goodness. Oh boy. Yeah, Chi Hui's got to be. Look at that, a wasteland. Aether Vial, as good as it is, can't cast non-creature spells.
Vial's going to put in Mother of Runes.
Hi, Mom.
Can I untap? The answer is yes.
Oh, wow. Mom gets to live.
Yeah, I was a little surprised, too.
We see the reminder die on top of Jonathan Kurpaska's deck. He puts his Aether Vials up to 2, up to 1. Mother is alive and ready. A Wasteland joins Jonathan's side of the board, but that can't cast a Swords to Plowshares should he, you want to get one out there.
Thank goodness for Aether Vial providing the advantage that it does provide. Wasteland going to go after the white or black Swords. It's going to be
He's maybe it's not going to. Okay, black.
All right, he's
black.
going to go after the Underground Sea, so it's going to leave him without any blue mana, just a scrub land.
Right now, Aether Vial functioning as a Soul Ring and as a little 1-mana artifact there.
Wasteland the draw here for Yim. Says attack with Batter Skull. I think you have to block and activate.
And Jonathan goes to 16.
Because my thought process is he would have had to peel Swords to Plowshares this turn.
That's very reasonable. I think one of the things Jonathan is thinking about, he's like, I just don't want anything to happen to my mom. I don't blame you. That we all feel that way about our moms, generally speaking.
Activate the Aether Vial on 2, gonna slide in a Sarah Avenger. Chi Hui Yim gives that the thumbs up. Vial's moving up, 3 and 2 we go. Elevator up there.
If it's a 3, is there a Crusader hanging out in Jonathan's hand? That would be very good right now.
Crusader actually insane right now. Gonna Vial in a 2.
Is it a Thalia perhaps, or maybe a Revoker?
It's gonna be a Thalia. So now in for 3 in the air. Death and Tax is doing exactly what it does here. Vial is insane in this deck. The only deck that I think Vial is better in is actually Goblins.
Yep.
I promise no bias. But I think that's the only deck that it's better in, because when Vial's online, Thalia gets tricky, Revoker gets tricky, and you have to respond to the activations of Aether Vial. You can't respond to the creature coming into play. So that's going to tick in a Mirren Crusader protection from black. I think it's time to get in front of that Germ token. What do you think?
Take that, Germ. You know, all you Merfolk fans out there who disagree with Cedric, his Twitter handle is at Cedric A. Phillips.
Yeah,
Tell him what you think.
Thanks, Adrian. Appreciate that. So now a sacrifice of that Verdant Catacomb is going to go get an Underground Sea. And again, one thing that we have talked about quite a bit at length in these sideboarded games is just how insane Supreme Verdict is in this matchup if Chi-Hoi Yim can get to it. He's going to start by brainstorming for 2 mana thanks to Thalia. You see Deathrite Shaman, Tundra, and Flooded Strand are the cards that are drawn for Yim. He's got to get to Supreme Verdict now because Death and Taxes has done what it needs to do. It's got a Mirror Crusader out there, it's got an active Mother of Runes, it's got spells costing more via Thalia, and it's got Sarah Avenger attacking in the air. Very reminiscent of what we saw the last game. And bye-bye Batterskull token, by the way.
Yep. Now, Chi-Hoi Yim has got to feel really grateful that he has a Marsh Flats to get rid of those other cards. He needs to find stuff quick, and if he can't shuffle away those cards he put back, well, we would know, like he was in the end of Game 2, he would have been Brainstorm locked 2 turns without anything new. One.
It's going to be a Deathrite.
Yep, there we go.
The gross thing here is that Kurpaska, because that Batterskull token's out of the way, he can actually just turn his creature sideways with Reckless Abandon outside of the Mother of Runes. Thalia and Mirror Crusader are more than happy to get into the red zone here with no punishment, as Rashad Important is the land that's played.
2 double strike for the Mirror Crusader, 2 first strike for the Thalia, 3 in the air from the Sarah Avenger. Just all by itself, that's 9 life. Thalia here could be the recipient of a double block and could be killed.
I mean, a double block can happen, but then first strike damage, you decide if you want to kill the Stoneforge Mystic or the Deathrite Shaman, whichever one's going to be left behind for regular damage, you just give it protection from that color with Mother of Runes. So what ends up happening here is that Mother of Runes can, for once in its life, actually be tapped going into Chi-Hoi Yim's turn. That's the worst thing that can happen if Kurpaska wants that to happen. So even a double block right now for Yim isn't even that profitable.
Yim just takes the damage. That's 9. He's down to 10. Very dangerous with those Aether Vials on 2 and 3. We can see some surprise into play combat action at the end of Chi-Hoi's turn.
A mighty Vindicate the draw step here for Yim. Could shoot down a Vial if he wants to. Could also shoot down the port. You're going to see Deathrite Shaman. There's a land. Is this going to be Supreme Verdict?
Oh my god.
Or is it just going to be Equip?
Equip.
Okay. He's going to try to equip. He does equip, he's going to get into the red zone.
Completely tapped out. I would be unsurprised to see a block and then a protection from white after the block.
If not now, when?
Yeah.
I mean, I like that she was putting him to the test, daring him to do it, but if not now, it's never going to happen because he can't play land. He's already played one.
Mom says, I'm going to get in the way, and no, you're not going to hurt anybody. Quit fighting, kids.
So no lifelink there for Yim. Kurpaska going to untap. He's going to leave his Vials at 3 and 2. He's going to draw a card. Just 1 land in play. A deck with 22 lands has not drawn very many, and the creatures are going to come sideways yet again. Ready to block.
Oh, take backsies.
Boy.
Take backsies. Well, we'll see.
Hey, I know it's late. Boy, oh boy. That was close. That was close. If you're Kurpaska, Yim was ready to snap block there.
I didn't take my hands off. Yeah,
you can say that. I would have pounced.
Okay, Kurpaska rethinking his combat phase a little bit here.
I know time is, ticking down. The water is rising up. But you've got enough time to think things through, Jonathan. Don't get too hasty, or that Stoneforge Mystic with a Batterskull could take over this game. So just Avenger going to go into the air.
Down to 7. Chi-Hoi Yim on the ropes, but he's not done yet. Batterskull and a Stoneforge Mystic is his hope. In addition, if he can find a Supreme Verdict, he can change the game entirely.
I mean, been looking for one of those forever, both in the previous game and this one as well. Still has that Vindicate at the ready. He's going to turn sideways liberally. In comes Stoneforge Mystic with Batterskull yet again.
Supreme Verdict, there are 2 copies in Chi-Hoi Yim's sideboard. That's a little bit more than many of these decks run, which is often 1.
Yeah, normally you see 1 of those in the sideboard of these decks, maybe 1 in the main deck if they're feeling a little bit frisky, but they're not. Chi-Hoi actually does have 2 in his sideboard, more than most people, as you did say, Adrian. But here comes that Stoneforge Mystic with the Batterskull yet again, and how is Kurpaska gonna block?
He's looking at putting some creatures to the death in order to get rid of that Stoneforge Mystic. He does it. Somebody's gonna die unless Mom helps him out.
So let's see how the order of blockers is going to go here. How do you feel about this double block?
Not excited about it, honestly. Oh, more take backsies. What are you gonna do, Mom? Who are you gonna protect?
All right, so that's going to get protection from white. Something bites the dust there. Yeah.
There you
because
go.
He assigns 2 damage to the Crusader, and then he's going to assign the rest of the damage to the Avenger, so the Avenger's actually going to die. And is that a good exchange of resources? I feel like the Avenger is what's actually allowing Kurpaska to win this game.
Vindicate is going to be able to hit something.
Yeah, it's going to take out the Mom.
Goodbye,
finally.
Mom. This could be a new game right now.
And now Wasteland's going to take out the only land. Not that that land was doing very much. The Vials are what's actually doing the damage here for Yim. But now he's getting back into this game. And nothing vialed in on the end step there for Kurpaska. So what's hiding in the hand? Maybe some of those cataclysms. As now we're going into turns. John is turn number 1. Could we see another draw here for Kurpaska?
If that happened, you know, here we go. 4 damage, 2 first strike, 2 regular strike. Chihui down to 6.
A little bit surprised to see Thalia hanging out on defense as well.
Oh
Turn
boy,
number 2.
a land. He can equip
Oh
that.
Raucous.
Wow. Deathrite picks up a Batter Skull. Is that okay? Is that okay?
Does it get to pick up the living weapon? The answer is yes. Are you going to vial anything in to punish me for doing this?
He's thinking about his attack. Can anything pop in the way that would be bad for him? The worst thing that I can imagine is just a Mirren Crusader. It wouldn't kill the Deathrite Shaman, but it would certainly stop that life gain and spell doom for Chihui. But could he do anything about it?
If he vials in a Mirror Crusader, it's just game over. He vials it in.
Wait. Did he just lay another land? Didn't he lay the land from... Yes, he did.
Yep.
That's an extra land. Okay. And it's pulled back.
So there's a Stoneforge Mystic going to get vialed in. Trigger.
See an Umezawa's Jite summoned to the hand by an end of turn Stoneforge Mystic.
Again, of not much relevance right now. Now he's going to vial in a Mungara. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So that's something that's actually quite good to vial in right now. He can destroy Batterskull, destroy Deathrite Shaman if he wants to as well. So we're going to go to turn number 3. Super important for here for Kurpaska is that he's going to have turn number 5. So Yim is not going to be able to win this game. All he can do is prevent Kurpaska from actually winning it.
Caracas put into play. Should the creature be out of the way, here it goes. Goodbye, Deathrite Shaman.
Going to trigger this, going to bounce his own Mungara back with Caracas. This is one of the interactions with the deck. The Mungara, Caracas, soft locking, able to vindicate permanents over and over and over again, be able to clear the way. So now there's just a Batterskull left, turning those guys sideways. I think everybody should come in this time, and he will. It will Kurpaska. So 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage, going to knock him down to 4, and Kurpaska can actually win this game on turn 5 via damage. Yim draws his card for the turn.
The best Yim can hope for here is the draw. And he says that's it.
Concede the game. So Jonathan Kurpaska, a deep sigh of relief, is going to win this match, move on to 8-1-1, and if tiebreakers break his way, Adrian, he may be in the elimination rounds this evening.
That was some very, very intricate combat actions going on there. A lot of moments, you know, Jonathan came in for a second. Wait, never mind, I'm going to pull that back. That's a bad attack. A lot of choices to make here for Jonathan. Jonathan comes out on top. Chihui Yim is going to end this tournament at 7-3. Jonathan Kurpaska, he's not necessarily guaranteed for our top 8, but it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does look pretty good. He's got good tiebreakers. He's going to move to 25 points, depending on how the draws broke. Looks like he's probably going to be in top 8 some way here, which means that either Mark Rankin, Justin Uppel, Josh Ravitz, they might experience a little bit of heartbreak here if they tried to draw in the final round.